Hello everyone, welcome to season 3 review of Spider-Man animated series. This is the second time I'm recording this because I was a dunderhead and when I was saving the review, I edited and everything, I accidentally saved over raw footage, which ruined the review. So, after like 6, 7, 5 hours of editing, we back here. Not a great feeling. So, I still don't know why I'm gonna edit this or not. I'm guessing not, honestly, for some toads. But you never know. If I do, this part will be irrelevant, but we'll see. Um, but season 3 is the longest season of Spider-Man animated series, clocking in at 14 episodes. So let's pick up where we left off. Um, with MJ being kidnapped. So the episode starts off with a flashback of Aunt Anna, which is MJ's aunt, and Harry Osborn be like, "Hey, hey Pia, MJ disappeared, and she didn't tell us about this, love that she got from her dad." Harry was mostly upset about this, um, because he was more angry than Anna, because he felt like, MJ's my girlfriend. Why would you go to you? You Peter Parker, you know. Um, but this is our first introduction to Aunt, where her was um whenever Aunt May's worried by Peter, she's like, man, Peter, it's making his aunt worrying. He's a terrible young man. Shame on him. He should be dragged on the back of a hose. Willing. And then we go back to the present, and Spider-Man knows he's flying ninjas, and these flying ninjas are breaking into the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is Doctor Strange's home. And Spider-Man's like, hey, flying ninjas, what's up? And these flying ninjas are after something called the Wand of Fortune. And during the scuffle, Spider-Man found out one of these flying ninjas was MJ. And the flying ninjas fled after Doctor Strange showed up with magic, with the assistance of Wong. Peter follows them back to, the home base of the flying ninjas, who also have laser beams coming out of their eyes, which is pretty cool. And the house is protected by magic, and we discover that this house is owned by a person named Mo, who's also a magic user. Mo, his cover is he wants a coat. Smart cover. If you want to do some shady business, or you know what I'm saying. Pretend you're a coat. No one knows. Um, um, but but Pia, infiltrates this coat, and what the coat's promise is, like, we reunite with your lost loved ones. Well, they died. Went out to buy milk 20 years ago and never came back. Whatever came first, whatever came first. Acting like everyone has it's one over them. I mean, I guess it is one over them. Because, this like, I guess. That's depressing to think about, Jesus. Anyways. But anyways, he goes into this coat. Um, and, and he meets Mo, and Mo's like, brainwashes him. That's how he gets people to be flying ninjas with laser beams coming out of their eye. He pretends to be the lost loved ones. Um, and Mo pretends to be Peel's parents, which is the first hint at Peel's parents. Yay. I am not a big fan of Peel's parents as a concept in general. Like I sort of remember how it's handled in this show, but not really. But we that's in season 5, so we get them when we get them. And like when Peel is under being hypnotized, he was in his Spiderman. Well, actually, no. There's some time when he was thrown back in his room and pulling the Spider-Man suit. Then Molo was like, "Go off, my children! Steal the wonderful tomb." So you just see Spider-Man flying, which is a weird, thing to see Spider-Man flying instead of web swinging. But Doctor Strange frees him. Doctor Strange, Wong, and Spider-Man go back to the cult building to, get stop Mo, and we found out Mo wanted for wonderful tomb to free his master Dormammu from his dimension so he can feed off of the life force of our dimension. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. And MJ, finds out, oh, you're lying about my father. My father is never gonna come back, which, that's, sad to think about, honestly, but she's like, there's people in my life that already love me and stuff like that. But the episode ends with, like, Madam Web watching over the events of this episode. And that's kind of a cliffhanger. Overall, I'd say this episode's a great start to season 3. You get magic, you get actually, where the magic is fantastic. You never see the same spell twice, so it's all like spectacle. Like, oh, look all the things Doctor Strange can do, which is very cool. And Wong has like cool energy swords that he used. And overall, a very entertaining episode. The next batch of episodes 2 and 3, the 2-part, and this is my least favorite episodes in the series so far. I wish I could just say that and move on, but there's some details to our opponent, so I gotta talk about it. So Spider-Man is claiming to be Spider-Man due to like a fight with Dr. Octopus. He accidentally destroyed a medical research lab, but since this destroyed a lot of years of research, which, shame on you for not saving your research somewhere else, but that's never point. So Spider-Man's fault. And even Dr. Octavian's fault. It's all Spider-Man. I'm trying to get comfortable. But he was like, oh, well, I was thinking straight because Dr. Octavius just hurt MJ, and I wasn't, I was too angry to think straight. But this one, and Wabi gave Peel a Spider-Man friend line. It's like, he was, a kitten. He wants to meet the Spider-Man. And Peel's like, screw this kid, I quit. I already decided I quit. And then here comes Madam Web introducing herself to Peel, and like, hey, I know I just met you, and this is crazy, but I want you to train for this great battle that you don't know anything about, but I do. And I want you to follow my word, because I said so. And Spider-Man's like, yeah, knowing delay, basically. Which I do agree. I'm not a big fan of Madam Web in this season. I feel like she's too condescending, and she teaches Peel's lessons he already knows of Spider-Man, so it just feels repetitive. Like, this was season 1. If it was season 2, But it'd be more understandable because, season 1 was like the groundwork of this universe, of the Spider-Man cartoon universe, and then season 2 for story arc. I'd be fine with a little repetition there, but season 3, when it's kind of like, we've been here for a bit, and this is like halfway through the series. So, but my web is like, favorite child will help you remember who you are. So, Spider-Man decided to go see this kid, and he explains his backstory to this kid, the long version, and still uses like the same animation and same lines when it gets to the Uncle Ben part, and it's like, I was a wrestler. Bonesaw is ready. Bang bang. Uncle Ben's dad, Pure Sam, becomes the Spider-Man. It was like, do we really need an episode focusing, like, a two-part focusing on this idea of Pure, be like, oh, I need, take on responsibility, because we've touched on this concept multiple times, and I have said, I do like that Peter needs to remind himself from time to time of Uncle Ben's words, but like, in his moments of weakness. But this is a two-part focusing on this. If this was like, back in season 102, more understandable. But if this is season 3, we've done this song and dance multiple times, and it's just like, eh. And Spider-Man gives amnesia during a fight with Dr. Octavius, and the little kid reminds him of who he is. Everyone's happy. Yay. If this was one episode, I wouldn't be so harsh on it, but it's a two-part again. That's what really hurts this episode in my eyes. I honestly thought Child Active played the kid was from like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, because the first episode of 2 parts called Make-A-Wish, and at the end I forgot the exact wording of the building, but her where she lives is like home for I believe the sure, again, forgot the exact one, people with these illnesses. What's the word I'm looking for? It escapes me. But I did look into it, and I couldn't find anything on the actress. The only thing I could find was this actress may or may not have won a contest to be in the show. And that's it. So I can't really comment on anything, because the only thing I could find was a may or may not. So not much to do there. But yeah, this episode just drags on. And I can't say skip it, because Man Web's introduction is important, because she doesn't show up again until the second half of the season, so it's good to have Man Web as a concept established. See that. But other than that, episode 4. This is a great episode. It's the introduction of a Green Goblin. Norman got caught making chemical weapons, and the board of Oscorp filled with all the rich people in New York City, the Kingpin, Felicia's mom, and Jonah Jameson, were this looks bad, Norman. So we gotta turn this image around. But the Kingpin was to Norman, it's you were making this for me. I want to still make it. but I had to keep appearances, so I'm pretending I'm mad at you. Um, but so Norman was continuing to working on this, and then the experiment kabloomy exploded. This was this turned into like a gas. It was like a liquid, and it turned into a gas, and blew up. And then Norman disappeared. We don't know where Norman is. And then and I guess the Kingpin and Norman's relationship got patched up after Norman tried to kill the Kingpin and the Hobgoblin too, Paul. I mean, it happens. And we would later find out if gas turned Norman into the Green Goblin, and he tried to get revenge on the both directly. Face reminiscent of Spider-Man 1, which this episode came out before Spider-Man 1, but it's that just shows how good this show is. That you see different Spider-Man media take stuff that the show did. It's a good idea. Let's use it. Which I'm not knocking Spider-Man 1 for doing that at all, because no comic books, I mean stories 100% original idea, and it's all based off one thing. It's just different takes on that story, but this episode's fun, pure fun. For Green Goblin, I love every second he's on screen. Love it, absolutely love it. And I love that he put his face on Lady Justice. As he capture all the board members, he put on a judge robe, and it's I'm gonna judge you. This is Judgment Day. He reveals the Lady Justice statue with his face on it, and I love that he went through all that effort just to put on a little show. I love it. This episode is a pun because Felicia shows hey, Spider-Man, when you shoot a web inside of me, because she fell in love with Spider-Man. And this shows how easy Harry is to be frustrated and angry at things. When you see the both director Harry, you should become the new head of Oscorp. Your father is missing, so move up. And you just see him being angry and all that stuff over episode 5. Before I go into episode 5, episode 4 again is very great. Highly recommend watching it. Episode 5. Excuse me. Is episode again. I would say skip it, but there's still small stuff in it. But it's build up for the later half of this season. Felicia got toned down by Spider-Man. Spider-Man's nah, I don't want, I can't date you. And then Felicia started dating this guy named Jason, who donated to her science center that she has going on. But this episode, as a troubled youth who learns crime is not the answer to your problems. Science is. And, but the show doesn't tell you. But 90% of the villains in this show are made by science. Oh, science experiments gone wrong. So maybe not go, down the path of science if you want, don't want to become a criminal, because, you might think, oh, I'm helping, we grow limbs, and then you become a giant lizard. An energy source, and you have these mechanical arms just attached to you that you can't take off anymore. I'm just saying. Maybe not the best career path. Alpha. Um, but but like the villain is Big Wheel. It's a man who drives around in a giant ass wheel, and he's like, haha, I'm Big Wheel. But like I know this episode is gonna focus on Big Wheel, but it's fucking Big Wheel. How do you make him so generic and boring? It's a man driving around in a wheel. Like I know the focus on this kid, being troubled, finding out science is the way he should go. But like, it's Big Wheel, my dude. Like I think the show could be ridiculous in that, and like really play into like the ridiculous of comic books. And I think that's one of the strengths. And it just didn't do it here, which saddens me, because it really should have, honestly. But yeah, episode 5 is just Okay, episode 6 and 7 is a great episode. Episode starts off with Peter Parker being on trial for treason. And you see MODOK as his alone. And you see, like, Felicia, MJ, and, like, Aunt May, and, the gallery watching on as, like, Peter Parker doesn't get bail. And he's walking out of the courtroom. And then, like, then whole shit gets, like, unleashed. Like, missiles go after, like, explosions. And it's like, and then you see, like, the chameleon disguised as Spider-Man breaking Peter Parker out. And this is when we get a flashback of how, Peter got into the situation. With, like, Peter, like, accepting a job from the Kingpin and the Kingpin's son, because Kingpin's like, remember back in season 1, the Hobgoblin two-part, when you saved my life, yeah, here's a job to repay you for that. And Peter's like, gosh, jolly, I'm so grateful for this. So he quit his job of the day, you go and be like, I quit. And like started working at one of the Kingpin's companies. And this company deals with U.S. defense secrets. And what Peel's job was is, to basically maintenance. And he had his little dicks he plugged into computers to run his maintenance. The Kingpin, like, framed him by having, like, data on, like, U.S. secrets on one of the dicks Peel used. And, it's like, oh, God, how did that get on them? So Peel got arrested for, treason. For selling U.S. secrets. And of course, that's really the Kingpin's, side gig, selling these U.S. secrets. But, well, I just love how, like, awesome this episode is. Like, how big it feels. Like, Peter Parker is on trial for treason. And he has to prove his innocence, Of course, with Matt MODOK being here, you get Daredevil, which is also very cool, like Daredevil crossover. This is the Kingpin, because for those who don't know, in the comics, the Kingpin was originally Spider-Man villain, and then Kingpin mainly became a Daredevil villain. But this is also, the Daredevil is like, hey, there's someone called the Kingpin, and then that's how, like, Peter finds out the Kingpin, and then later on he finds out the Kingpin is worse than Fix. So this episode is very big for that, just alone, because, like, Peter finds out, who the Kingpin is. But, like, the chameleon hints that Peter Parker's parents are spies, which is, again, we get to that later. And again, I'm a big fan of that concept idea. Again, that's season 5 when we get to talk about it more. We also, like, this episode shows how cool the Kingpin is, because we get the Kingpin backstory about, like, how his dad was a monster, and how, like, the Kingpin was not very good at life and crime. And then he got sent to jail because, his father was like, take the fall from me. And so he did. And then, he got out of prison. And it was like, I got good. I became the Kingpin, motherfucker. And then he found his dad, bring his dad to his, like, tower. And then his dad's like, I knew you were the Kingpin, son. No one believed me. When he turns, like, the Kingpin's like, what about that? Yeah, I'm gonna kill you because of that one time you had me go to prison, so, how goons off with him, And then the Kingpin does the same thing to his son when he's like, take for fall from me, son. And the Kingpin's like, I wonder if my son's gonna try to kill me too someday. It's just like, you lost your wife, and you lost your son. Now you lost your son. Both due to your life of crime. Then he blames Alistair in the next episode for like, oh, you caused my son to go to jail. You made your son take the fall for you. It might have been Alistair's plan to like frame Peter Parker and all that stuff. But you're the one who told your son to take the fall for you. And that wasn't Alistair. Don't try to throw Alistair on the bus. But this two part is freaking amazing. Episode 8 is another great episode. Alistair's like, the Kingpin's probably gonna kill me. So he contacts Spider-Man, but Kingpin finds out, and so he turns Alistair into a cyborg with like little like laser guns coming out of it, like they look like tentacle tube things, out of his shows and stuff. Very cool design, I think. But Landon from the X-Men 2-part from last season becomes the new like Kingpin assistant. And so like Man Web shows up again. It's like, Peter, it's not about how you beat. It's like it's for why. Why are we doing? Why is the villains doing this? Which I feel like Peter he knows how knows that way. So it's just like retread ground, but whatever. Or and we discover that the Kingpin, that way back in episode 2 of season 1, kidnapped Alistair's father and had him co-sleep the whole time. And of course this meant Alistair turned on Kingpin, even though the Kingpin and Star like, you can't attack me, measures and Alistair, Alistair overcome that and stole his father back. But this episode is also important because MJ was like, I don't love you, Harry. You're like a little brother to me. And I'm not, I'm not doing little brothers. So here's your engagement ring back, because the guy engaged in this episode. And, yeah. Yeah. Episode 9 is like an okay episode. It's not bad, but it's not great. Episode 9 focuses on Robbie and his son. Robbie's like an out-of-touch father, and his son's like, you don't love me, Dad. The gang is my real family. And Robbie's son learns that the gang isn't his real family due to the Spider-Man showing him like, the gang doesn't care about you. Your dad does. And Man Web basically tells Spider-Man to learn the same lesson as last time, so last episode, so it's just like, we've been here, done that. And but this episode had a very effective scene when Robbie's son was trying to steal his gun, and it wasn't a laser gun, it was like a real gun, and whatever they had to do to like get that done, like, to like get that past the sensors or whatnot, it was worth it. It was very well executed and a lot more impactful because it was a real gun, not like a laser gun. The episode's villain is Tombstone. He still works for Elizabeth Silverman, who doesn't want to start publishing the Daily Bugle. And for Tombstone had like a bit, a bit of a pass with Robbie being quote unquote the straight arrow. That's what Tombstone calls him, and Tombstone being the criminal. He ultimately had like a Joker backstory, like the Killing Joke, when Tombstone was about to frame Robbie for a crime. Then Robbie's like, no. And then Tombstone accidentally falling and a bad acid becoming Tombstone. A very Killing Jokey that backstory. But episode 10 and 11, great. Oh my god. So this starts off with Clay Cassidy, being captured by the police. I love how they did Clay Cassidy in this. Actually made me believe that this man is deranged, and a psychopath, like truly, and like we kind of got a recap of like a block because he's in prison, and I like how it did back like recap is like a block talking to his therapist, Dr. Koloff. I'm probably mispronounced that. I do apologize. I forgot how to pronounce her name. But Mo is back in So's Dormammu, and they, use magic to get like the symbiotes back to Earth via Emilio. And so like Mo rebonds a block with a symbiote. And he goes like, Stark Industries has this, interdimensional power gun. I want you to get that for me. So, Venom breaks out of prison and goes to Stark Industries to steal this power gun. But, Venom is met with Spider-Man and War Machine, and Venom's having a hard time. So, Mo's like, what am I gonna do? Obviously, I can't jump in and fight for whatever reason. I got a public image to keep. And Dormammu's like, the symbiote gave birth. It had a baby. And so they gave the baby to Cleve's Cassidy to make Carnage, which Carnage looks fucking amazing in this show. I love the design of Carnage. So like, they were, Venom and Carnage were able to steal the interdimensional power gun, leaving War Machine home. So, like, Iron Man, comes in to be the substitute for War Machine. But Venom was like, peace, I'm out. This is all you said, I need to do. I'm not doing anything else for you. But Carnage is still, like, working under, like, more, into Dormammu. But, like, Brock fell in love with his therapist, and the therapist convinced him to debond with the symbiote. So we went to Dr. Connors to debond. But like when Brock found out his lover got kidnapped, he's like, I'm getting rebond with the symbiote, and Connor's like, I wouldn't do that if I was you. If you do, you won't survive rebonding process because it would kill you. I mean, debonding process because it would kill you. You would die, and that would be no good. And he goes like, I don't care. I need, save my therapist. So you have Iron Man, Spider-Man, Venom versus Carnage, Mondo, and Dormammu. Can we talk about how epic that is? You got two Doctor Strange villains, and Carnage versus Venom, Iron Man, and Spider-Man. That's just fucking amazing, and I love that this show made that happen. But like, Iron Man and Spider-Man were able to stop Dormammu from coming into our world, but like the portal won't close because the portal is linked to Carnage. So Venom sacrificed himself to push Carnage into the portal and stop Carnage from dragging his therapist into the different dimension. And at the beginning of this episode, Madeline was like, an unlikely you would find an unlikely ally, and Spider-Man's like, oh, that's them. He sacrificed himself to save this world and planet, and that's appreciated. But I like how Spider-Man's like that was my greatest foe, which he's not wrong. Honestly, I do think like in terms of like Shield like being terrifying, no one has been them yet. Because like them in season one, they terrifying, and I love how they did them. And but like, it's like Eddie Brock was working for Pio like earlier in the episode. Like he went to MJ and he's like, I could see, Pio loves you. He mentioned that to her. But I love this two Paul. Like a great character development for them. Fun like matchups of characters and fun action pieces, and it's just like wonderful. Like absolutely must watch. Episode 12 is more of like a setup episode for last two episodes of the season. More than anything else, so it's kind of like okay, but like still worth talking about. Scientist by Dr. O was a stock scientist and worked on the interdimensional portal gun, but stock industry shut that down because we got aliens, we got interdimensional beings, we got wizards trying to get this thing, So, and we got Nixon. So, Dr. O is like, that's my life's work. I'm sad, man. I'm sad. So the Kingpin picked him up. It's like, you know what you did for Stark? Do it for me. The Kingpin. A name of a face of science. So Dr. O built an interdimensional gun, portal gun, called the Time Dilation Accelerator. And the first test one, things went sideways, and because Dr. O got sucked into it, and then all these and he was in between dimensions, and all these portals attached to him, and became the Spot, which basically he has the powers of time dilation accelerator. Just he can go wherever he wants, make a portal, boom, like Janimba, like he can commit pose and like punch people and all that stuff through his pose. But yeah, this episode's just okay. The episode ends with like Spot sacrificing himself to close a giant pole that he couldn't close. And with his scientist lover that he found in love with at Kingpin's research, also sacrificed herself because she's like, I can't live without you, so let's go in between dimensions together. And taking the time accelerator, time dilation accelerator with him. But starting off in the next episode 13, we see the time dilation accelerator opening a portal itself to come back to our dimension. And the Hobgoblin picked up, doing all sorts of crimes with it. But Norman Osborn becomes the Green Goblin again. And I love how they like to pick as a split personality. I think that's a very fun dynamic. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this show was the first time that made a split personality, which is a fun concept. I love the back and forth between the Green Goblin and Norman Osborn. I think it's very fun. But this episode ultimately becomes the war between the goblins, the Green and the Hob. Very fun action pieces and all that jazz. We learned that Jason, Felicia's now fiance, is a hobgoblin, and Felicia just has terrible luck with who she chooses to be in a relationship with, because she tried with Pio, and she didn't like, Pio just disappearing for, to be Spider-Man, because she didn't know it was to become Spider-Man. Mobius, who became a vampire, then became a man-bat. Spider-Man, he just turned her down, in which she's still kind of like, even though she's like engaged, she's kind of like, hey there, Tiger. And then she dated a hobgoblin. So, it happens. But this episode also shows, like, Harry, how Bill he is, that Pio's not dating MJ. Like, he's like, fuck you guys. Just like, so yeah, this episode is very fun. It ends with Green Goblin getting the time dilation accelerator and the Hobgoblin getting arrested. Very, very fun episode. Episode 14. This is the big one. This is the big kahuna. This is the final episode of the season. It starts off with Spider-Man talking to Madam Web. He's like, I'm happy in life. Screw you. Who cares about your big battle you keep preparing me for? Madam Web is like, that's fine. But be careful of a two-headed monster. But like everyone knows when Pio is like, I'm happy, I have MJ and all this stuff. That's when he gets knocked on hard. I don't blame Pio for breaking it off with Madam Web, because again, I don't think the hand of Madam Web, very well, because of, they made Pio dumb, not that jazz. Sorry, I was having a hard time reading my script there for a second. The Green Goblin finds out that, Spider-Man, is Peter Parker due to the time dilation accelerator just, sneaking around. So, as Norman, invites Peter to, Harry's birthday party, and he's like, hey, Peter, we have a secret, that we can share with everyone. Peter's like, oh shit, he knows I'm Spider-Man. He knows, he knows my secret, and he probably used the time dilation accelerator to find out. And so, like, Spider-Man and the Green Goblin fight after Peter made distraction. He kind of set the place on fire. He created smoke, but he almost set the place on fire to get out of it. So the Green Goblin and Spider-Man fights a bit. Then the Green Goblin kidnaps MJ, takes her to a bridge, and then during the scuffle on the bridge, MJ falls off of the bridge, and the time dilation accelerator activates and she gets sucked into the pool. And Peter doesn't see this, so he's like, what the fuck is MJ? Like, angry and confused, he goes after the Green Goblin, which is never a good state for anyone to be in. Angry and confused. The Green Goblin makes another poem, to go through, but the poem goes out of control, and he can't control it, and he's about to get sucked in. Peter's like, have this revenge for MJ. Then as soon as the Green Goblin slips off of Norman's face, and he sees Norman's face, he's like, revenge is the answer, and tries to save him, but couldn't. And then he calls out to Madam Web, and he's like, Madam Web, I know you have the power to bring MJ and Norman back. Can you do that? And she's like, you want nothing to do with me. You made that painfully clear. So no, he made a choice, and you can take responsibility of your choice. And I love how Christopher Daniel Barnes both had hope, and how like Peter feels like everything was stolen from him, from his performance. Excellent. Like moi. Like it was so good. And that's kind of how the episode ends, with like Peter just being destroyed, and you just see MJ dentally falling in between dimensions. Like, where's everyone? uh, so like season 3, a wonderful season. I loved it. It has the highs of highs, but also kind of has the lows of lows. Um, but I do think the highs way overshadow the lows, but the lows are still there. So I give Spider-Man season 3 a 9 out of 10. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.